All right. So, um, when I was streaming this, I forgot to re-record this, and I missed the first 8 minutes. And I kind of like what I said in those first 8 minutes. So I'm doing this to get those 8 minutes on the final thing. So it's gonna be a little weird. So this is me just kind of explaining some of that, and then we'll let this thing play, and you will hear from me, and that'll be that. So that's kind of the intro thing, and then I'll let the video play, and we'll get that 8 minutes on record. So without further ado, a little bit more. All right, I've been adjusting some of the music because we're gonna listen to some music today. Hopefully, it doesn't get us copyright struck, and because I want to discuss it because we're talking about rhetoric, and music is basically all rhetoric. Um, and I was listening to a song yesterday that really got me jamming, and this kind of inspired the whole stream. So I know I mentioned at the end of the last one that I was gonna do labor-backed currency. We're still doing that. Probably not today though. I got all this stuff kind of popped into my head, wrote it all down, blah blah blah, and I wanted to kind of do that while I'm in the inspirational mood, let's say. Um, so we are going to discuss kind of some ticket type stuff and some rhetoric stuff, right? So, uh, oh, I forgot something. Um, so one of the things is vice is a greater motivator than virtue, which we'll get into that. I that needs to kind of process in my own brain a little bit. So, um, maybe we start there, or do we start with the rhetoric stuff? Uh, okay, so I'm going to start with the rhetoric stuff. I think, yeah. So basically, I've been um listening to this song called "Bitter" by, let me get the name for you here, Fletcher Keto. I will put both the songs in the description box below on the YouTube video. Um, but yeah, I've been jamming to the song. I just like found it randomly last night. It was like in my YouTube suggested at like 3 in the morning. Yes, I should not have been up at 3 in the morning, but um, I like clicked it, and I was it just it like hit me right, and it's like one of those weird things. It's So I'll go through kind of what the song is, and then we'll listen to it. Uh, it's a song about like this girl who's bitter that her boyfriend basically broke up with her and got like a better job and a new chick. And it's like got this. Part of it's just the beat is like I don't know. There's something about the beat that just gets you, and that's the interesting thing about like rhetoric, right? I have like 5,000 reasons why I shouldn't do something, and why I should get healthier, why I should not watch porn, why I should blah blah blah. And like I have all these dialectical arguments for it. They never work. I mean, they do to a certain extent, but like uh it only bars the gate for so long, and eventually it breaks down because it's like you're not just a dialectical robot, right? You're both an emotional being and a intellectual being, and so eventually those like emotional needs, like some kind of emotional thing kind of takes over, and it either gives into the vice, or you can do something to kind of redirect it. And so that's kind of what we're going to try to talk about. So I found music's very effective for that, at least for me. I don't know about other people. um right, because I'm like sitting here self wallowing, like, oh, like life sucks and blah blah blah, uh and then I like listen to this one song, and I'm like, I'm the fucking man. Let's go crush. Let's go, like, I'm gonna go like run a fucking 10K. Like I just like immediate. Like it doesn't make any sense. I went from like being just like hating myself to like, you know what, I am the best, let's go crush kind of thing. And it's just like it doesn't make any, like the only thing is like there's some rhetorical thing that just like, I don't know, it like triggers you to like be better, and I don't know why. It just is. Uh, you know, because and like the song is relatable in a certain extent. I mean, like I guess if you're a super alpha male and stuff like that, like maybe this doesn't affect you, right? But I mean, like even looking at Trump, Trump's like alpha is all alpha can get, and like the amount of people he's opposed by, like definitely has got to have a effect on your morale and stuff like that. So, um, you know, like maybe he's got like a jam that like, you know, when he's getting worn down or whatever, he just pops it on and it just like boosts him up, right? He's like, you know what, I am the man, I am Trump. I don't like all those, because doubt's always going to seep in, no matter who you are. You know, it's one of the devil's number one tools and weapons that we kind of like. It was outlined in Saint Ignatius's rule. Like the first one was, he's good. The devil's going to when things. I think it's rule 2. I think. So it's like once you're doing good, he's going to sow doubt, and like if you're doing bad, he's going to like sow doubt that you can even be good, and he's also going to make it very comfortable for you to be in that bad position. So, you know, sometimes when you're dealing with something that's like rhetorical, like fighting fire with fire kind of thing, it's like, all right, well, you're fighting a rhetorical monster. You can't think your way out of it. You know, you just need to find something that like counters the negative energy kind of thing, which I don't know, sounds like some weird new age kind of shit, but uh, hey, it works for me, I guess. So yeah, this girl's like talking about like, oh man, like I'm down on my dumps, and you know I have this boyfriend that like I was with, he was great, and like basically the you're gonna miss me kind of thing, and it's listening to it, um, it it inspires uh me at least, and like both like I relate to both halves of the song, which is interesting because I can't think of a song where it's kind of like that where I relate to both halves. Um, and I think it's because it's a girl giving it from the girl's perspective. Like usually when I'm listening to songs like this, it's giving it from the guy's perspective. So I usually just take the guy's perspective when I'm uh, listening to it. Like Eminem has one. Let me actually find that song. Uh, called "Where I'm At" with Lloyd Banks, who uh, is one of the forgotten greats in my opinion. All right, we'll listen to that in a second. Um, but that's like the same thing where it's like this girl like dumped him or whatever, and then like now he's at a like great level, and he's like, yo, you know I'm awesome, and like forget you, like you know you wish you were where I'm at now. Um, and so like you know that, and that's been a pump up song for me too, but it's different because you're looking at it directly from there, whereas like from the because it's from the girl's perspective, it's this interesting dynamic. Oh mother, I'm not recording. Fuck. Um, huh. All right, I might have to actually do some editing on this video. All right. Well, we're gonna start recording now. Okay, so I just recorded, or I just spoke for 8 minutes and wasn't recording. At least it was only 8 minutes. That could have been a lot worse. Um, okay. Well, now I'm kind of got the creative juices flowing, so maybe this will be a better video. Um, so we're gonna go over some music and stuff today, and so I'll leave the music's songs down below. But basically, I was saying you have this mental thing going on where you like I know all of the arguments and I forget them from time to time. That's an aspect of it, but you know you can you can use dialectic to a certain extent, but you have to realize that we are both a maybe there are some people that are hardcore robots, fully dialectic, and can are only persuaded by their dialectical brain. I'm gonna say, well, first off, apparently most people are rhetorical thinkers, and maybe I'm one of them. I like to think that I'm at least partially dialectic, but like I know that I'm influenced by rhetorical things often enough. Um, so So yeah, so it plays this interesting dynamic where we want to be this dialectical thinker, but like we can't. We got like it doesn't hold back the floodgates because you're trying to defend. It's not the right tactic or the right weapon to use for this situation, right? You got to fight fire with fire. You got to use to beat rhetoric. You have to use rhetoric. I don't know if that's necessarily accurate, but at least in my life it is. Um, I being like down in the dumps and like not thinking you're that great. Doing things like applying to jobs all the time and just like not getting anywhere with it. Uh, Saps at your soul. Doing things that you're not supposed to be doing, like watching porn or playing video games, stuff like that. Um, it saps away from you, and then like you don't have. You can think of like dialectical arguments for like why you should do something, but it they don't hit like the other ones, and and then like sometimes you find a song that just like you're jamming and it like just hits your thing and you're like, you know what, I'm the best thing ever. I'm gonna do like 5,000 push-ups right now, things like that. So I was listening to this song called "Bitter" by what is the actual name of the artist? Fletcher. And I'll put the we're gonna go over a couple songs and I'll put them in the description box below. But it's very similar to a song that I used to listen to as well. Like not similar, but it's in the same vein of um, like revenge type songs, but not like revenges and like make sure there's another. Um, if you go on it seeking revenge, like make sure you dig two graves. Like using uh, using like the negativity to be better kind of thing. It's uh, Owen and um, Fox they do it all the time, right? They're like, we're gonna kick you off um, all the platforms. They're like, all right, we'll build one, right? It's like that kind of thing. Um, and that's I think why it struck me because it's like it, it's this kind of energy that like we all want. It's the idea that we're not going to take things laying down and stuff like that. And while we while we wish to believe that, and it doesn't always line up, you know, what we believe we are in our head doesn't line up with reality sometimes. Um, it's it gives us a vector and a pathway to kind of get there, or at least like some kind of inspiration. Like this dude did it. You know what? I can too. Like what steps do I got to take? All right, I'm gonna start doing push-ups today, and after push-ups, I'm gonna start doing running, and like just add in like 1 to 2 little things into your life over the time period. Um, but uh, let's get into the actual song. So this song's called "Bitter," and it's an interesting perspective because when you compare it to the Eminem song, which is about uh, you know, it's how do I describe it? So the Eminem "Where I'm At" song is basically the opposite. It's from the guy's perspective of like getting making himself better and leaving like the old girl behind. And the Bitter song is from the perspective of the girl that got left behind, right? And so it's interesting because it like they both kind of invoke the same thing, at least for me. Um, because in but like in kind of two different vectors. So in the Eminem song, he's like, I'm doing better, blah blah blah, and like I'm taking it from his perspective, right? I'm like, yeah, that dude's like crushing. Let's go. He's killing it, kind of thing. Like let's go be like that guy. Let's, all the girls that have rejected me, which I get, it's kind of a gamma thing, but whatever. Uh, you know, um, we're gonna uh we're gonna prove that they shouldn't have like rejected me, kind of thing. Yeah, something basic like that, or at least just you know get to a point where you're like I'm the best thing it's ever been. Um, which is a very rapper thing to do. But in the other one, she's bitter that she got left behind, kind of thing, and then she's like kind of hoping that actually he thinks about me all the time and stuff like that. Like um the scorned woman kind of thing, like he's definitely still thinking about me. Um, and from that one, you kind of relate with two perspectives because there's the perspective, like maybe I'm wrong, but like I definitely have been in that like I don't know about the general populace, but like at least me, I've been in that perspective of like that girl where she's like bitter about the fact that she got passed over for someone else, and that the dude that she used to be with is doing better than when they were together, kind of thing. And that's a relatable story. Um, and then, but on top of that, you have the other thing where you also relate to the guy that left her behind. You're like, I want to be that guy. I want this story to be about me, kind of thing. And so like it's like a double inspirational thing. It's like you're like, you know what? I have been in this situation, and like this guy went and made himself better. So I am I am both characters in the story, which is interesting. I'm not sure if that's common. Um, I guess it's not that uncommon. Um, but yeah, and also the beats kind of bump it. So I'm gonna play it. Hopefully we don't get a copyright strike. That's and then we're gonna dive into um, some other stuff that kind of touches on this and how like it doesn't even necessarily have to make sense. Which God's Country is one that I'm gonna play, and like how it's just it just kind of evokes like an emotional response in you, and it doesn't have to make sense. So let's start this one, and we're just gonna listen to like the first verse until the end of the refrain. Hopefully that's not too much.
It's like being on the outside of an inside joke. It's like when they only got Pepsi and you really want Coke. It's like finally get a text back and it's just your mom. It's like when you just broke up and they play your song. I know they said it's kinda stupid, but it's just the way I'm feeling right now. And I hate that I could tell that someone's probably in my shoes by now, right now. I know she thinking that she found herself a winner. I know you fucked her on the counter right before you cooked the dinner. Yeah, I know you think about me when you kiss her. I left a taste in your mouth, can she taste me now that you threw out all our furniture and pictures? I bet you sugarcoat the truth, I bet you're real sweet with it. Yeah, I know you think about me when you kiss her. I left a taste in your mouth, can she taste me now? I'm bitter. Hearing about your new life and the brand new you. It's like, heard you got a new job, but I heard you moved. It's like, I don't wanna hear it, don't wanna hear about you. It's like, I don't give a fuck.
Okay, sorry, got kind of lost in the song. Didn't realize we were in the second verse. So okay, so that's kind of it. That's like the first like minute, uh, and uh, I don't know. For me, it just kind of hits all those spots where it's just like you just want to like do better, kind of thing. And like I find that very like like we're not motivated by rationality, if that makes sense. And I think that's why like um it might be easier to strive towards sin than um virtue. And I'll qualify that statement. So when I'm like trying to get healthy and stuff like that, um there's a couple it's never so the whole point and kind of the end goal as it were is okay, well, I want to get healthy so I can so I'm not going to die, kind of thing, of what's it called? I basically like I want to be healthy so I can find someone to have a family with, like, but that's like a vanity thing, right? Like that's the vanity is actually driving it. But and then like also just be healthy and be able to live a long time. But like the actual thing that's like driving the whole thing is vanity. That's a vice. That's a sin, kind of thing. And it's just like, but it's if I just kind of think of like, oh well, 60 years from now, I want to be able to move around and stuff like that, and not just be stuck on a couch kind of thing. Um, it's not a big motivator, especially since that is like the thing I like to do. It's my ticket of least resistance, as I was kind of thinking of as I was doing this, right? So like, I'm not going to be motivated to go run if it's like, okay, well, 60 years from now, I'm going to maybe be stuck to a couch where I voluntarily choose to sit right now. So it's like, okay, well, in 60 years, is it really going to be, am I going to be missing running around? Or am I just going to, like, be able to play video games when I'm 90 still? Maybe, maybe not. But, like, based on the things that I want to do kind of thing, uh, it's, that isn't a motivating factor. Whereas like the vice thing at least kind of is. It's like I want to be healthy. And I mean like one of the early things that motivated me to like work on my health and stuff like that was like a really silly stupid thing. Um and I guess doesn't really fall into virtue or vice, but like one day I went to like go tie my shoes and my stomach was like so freaking large that like I couldn't reach my shoes basically. And I've always been like a pretty flexible person, like um, I don't know. Like I remember doing like stretches and stuff like that in football and throughout, and like people like couldn't touch their toes kind of thing, and like that's never been a problem for me kind of thing. So like the idea that I couldn't even like reach my feet to like tie my shoes, and I had to like shift my stomach to like sit between like my legs and stuff like that. It was like a weird level of embarrassment where I was like, oh, you really let yourself go, and I didn't even fix myself then. It took like another, I'm not even fixed technically, but like it took another like 4 years almost to even start doing stuff like that, to like start losing weight, because I like at my heaviest I was like between 270 280, and like I'm still 240, like I'm only down like 40 pounds, and I've only started within like the last 2 years, and basically I just don't eat for the first 3 months of the year, and then apparently that just keeps about 20 pounds off. I don't know why that works, but it works. um and I need to find a more sustainable way to lose weight, but um yeah, it's just, we have all these like rhetorical things around us, and we're always, I shouldn't say we're always taught, but like generally rhetoric seen as a, I don't want to say a bad thing. Like, wizards use rhetoric, right? So it's always kind of like a danger. But like, I don't know, maybe there's no such good thing as a good rhetoric. It's hard to say. But like, I mean, this song, it got me out of a funk, right? So like that it's clearly rhetorical. Like there's nothing, I added like dialectical elements to it, but like that was afterwards. Like I just listened to it and I was like, this song's banging. Let's go do something, right? Like there was no like long string of like thought out like, oh well, this relates to this. Like that came way later. Uh and so yeah, I don't know. And it's interesting because we have, I know there's certain triggers within my life. Let me switch back to the chat just to make sure I'm not missing anything. Um uh that like these things kind of remind me of like why I do the things I do. Uh because the other option, and this is why like Owen and stuff like that always preaches against despair merchants and stuff like that, because like I recently found it like it's so easy to fall into the trap if you're not careful. Um so hmm, let me see. Okay, before we, you know what, we'll circle back to the God's Country song. So we're going to so yeah, despair merchants. So in my life, I specifically, when I want to not be virtuous, let's say, um, I will specifically like, it's so dumb. I'll like set up hurdles in my own life just to make it so that I can't actually like succeed. And then I'm like, oh, well, I fell off the wagon. I guess I just gotta roll around in the mud now. It's like, it's so pathetic and dumb, but it's what I do, I guess. Um, and there's like, I can tell when I'm doing it because there's certain things like I avoid. Like, I'll stop watching Owen streams because Owen streams keep me on the straight and narrow. So it's like, okay, well, we gotta cut that. Like, it's everything I should be doing to be more uh like virtuous and like and living like a whole a better life kind of thing. I do in like reverse. I'll like set up things and be like, oh, I saw this thing, so now I got to do this, or I smelled a cheeseburger, so now I just got to go eat like 12 of them. Like it's just really dumb stuff like that, and it's just like it's just a rhetorical. The thing is, I intentionally do it though, so like I don't know. But there's definitely a rhetorical aspect of it, right? It's a lot of times like when I'm doing this stuff, it's I'll come up with some excuse, but I'm pretty sure it's rhetorically driven. Like I'll be like, I don't really, BB streams like 2 hours, and I'll watch it on YouTube, so it'll be like an hour. And it's like, do I want to watch that? It's gonna take like so much time, and I want to go do something else, kind of thing. Like I'll go, I want to go read or whatever. But then instead of actually going to read, I'll like watch random 4-minute YouTube videos for the next 2 hours, and it's like, why didn't you just watch the actual thing that you were gonna get good enjoyment out of and like actually help you, kind of thing? And it's like, well, because you don't actually want to be helped. You want to fail. You specifically want this so that you have an excuse to do the non-virtuous things that you want to do. And I don't exactly. The best way to get around that is to have an outlet for those other things. And I don't exactly know how to fix it. Like, there's certain aspects of it. Like, I found exercise helps a lot with like porn and stuff like that. Like if you're running and stuff like that, it maybe it's just me, but um it like kind of burns up some of that testosterone that can build up where you're like, I gotta go do something rage, and so like that modulates that. I guess I don't know. It seems to work for me, so give that a try. Like if you're like feeling the itch or whatever, just do something physical. Like do 30 push-ups before you're gonna um, mount the manicore as Alex Becker calls it. Um, and then it's probably passed at that point. Um, but it's actually, who described this really well was Day Nine. Day Nine had this like little funny bit about like a squalor goblin. Hold up, I gotta find that video too. It's really funny. Um, I'll leave the link in the description. Yeah, the squalor goblin. Okay, so I'll just leave the link for people to watch it. It's really funny. But basically, one of the things that he kind of describes in there, and he's basically like where you have a long weekend and you just like ruin the entire weekend by just being a degenerate kind of thing, where you're just like you're staying up way too late, you're like slamming beers or sugar and stuff like that that like leaves you like feeling crappy and with a hangover, and you throw your entire sleep schedule off, kind of thing. And one of the stages of this whole thing is to like get really motivated and like have an awesome plan of attack the immediate second you're going to bed. And I don't know about you guys, but this has happened to me a lot. Where it's like, where I'm gonna get all this like I get the inspiration to do something like the immediate second I'm about to go to bed. That way, it's tomorrow's problem and not this immediate. Like, so I guess one way I've dealt with that is uh like this yesterday. Like I thought of, or like kind of the inspiration came to me for some of this stuff yesterday. And so instead of being like, well, okay, I'll write it down tomorrow, kind of thing, I just wrote it down immediately. I was like, all right, we're gonna, this stuff's kind of brewing in my head. We got to put it down on paper. Um, and then I'll talk about it on the stream tomorrow. Uh, but like it's it's like the other side of the intended failure. So what you in okay, so what you do first is you set up a situation in which if you're on a roll, you're going to slip up. And then to get yourself to keep yourself there, what you do is, okay, well, I need to get myself back on my horse kind of thing. So I'm gonna do, and then there's a list a mile long of stuff you're gonna do. When really you just need to do like one of those things on the list, right? Uh, actually, okay, I'll get to that in a second. So, um, basically, you create a situation that's so big and so like such a um massive undertaking that you cannot do it. You will not succeed, and that is the goal of the plan. Is to create a plan that can't succeed so that like when you fail you have an excuse. It's baked into the cake of like, well, I'm gonna um I mean that's why you get like some of these like leftist um like a lot of leftist plans of um ah, like climate change is why it's something that's so big and so beyond any of them that they don't actually have to address. They can go around screaming about this and they never have to address any problems within their own life. And so you can do it on a multitude of levels. Uh, and so a good way to get out of that is actually from Zale, who's a Hearthstone streamer. Um, and his thing is like create a list of things you're gonna do, and then pick like one of them, and then like make sure you do it. And if you don't do it, just say, all right, well, we failed, and just keep a record. Like, didn't make it. It can and make it like unbelievably easy because you're in a bad state right now. So you need just minor wins, right? So, one for me right now is I keep sleeping in probably way too late. So, getting up at 9, let's say, like which is like I'm so if I make the goal of like getting up at 9, like okay, let's say I don't do it tomorrow, I'd be like okay, well that sucks. But I get up like 30 minutes earlier than normal and be like, all right, well that wasn't good, but it's a progress, right? Make like things like brush your teeth. Like it can be super super simple, just basic things to kind of get the ball rolling. Um, because there was another man. I apparently listened to a lot of motivational type people and then never take any of their advice. Um, no, I do use some of their advice, but like I said, there's certain times I deliberately and specifically ignore it because I don't want to face the reality of what has to be done. I think. Um, so like that's the current situation I'm in is um well okay, I'll get back to that. No, I'm gonna do this. So okay, so I don't want to face like the reality of the situation I'm in, right? So I'm unemployed. I don't really do like what am I doing, right? I was gonna go on an adventure. Instead, I started playing video games again, right? Um, I've just been I don't like this whole lockdown thing yet. I've probably listened to the lockdowns more than anyone else because I mean part of it is just it falls into my normal pattern of behavior. Don't go out much, so I guess I didn't lose much with the lockdowns, but um, it's the idea that I'm stuck in this spot. I realize the economy's in the tank, so no one's hiring. And I don't want to face that reality because if I face that reality, that means I have to do something. And what is that something? Well, I mean, I guess I've kind of done this podcast, but it is a step. Don't get me wrong. And I've been reading and stuff like that, but like I don't know. Part of me feels like I need to go start a a homestead, and I just it's like a leap of faith that I just don't want to face. Um, so yeah, and yeah, but to get back to how to get yourself out of mental funks, um, I forgot the name of this guy. If I find his video, I'll link it. But um, there, there's kind of like a cycle to getting stuff done. So it's like um, action, like the desire to do something will lead to the action, which will lead to like the result or something like that. And then like when you get results, that leads to you wanting to do it more kind of thing. But it's like there's you can start at any point in that wheel. So like if you're feeling really down and stuff like that, and you don't have the motivation to do something, you should just go do that thing. Um, because by just going and doing it, you will get the motivation to keep doing it, kind of thing. It's it's like it's think about like doing like weightlifting and stuff like that, or exercise, where you're like, ah man, I don't want to go on a run today, but you go anyway, and then eventually it gets to the point where you don't even think about like, even if you don't want to do it, you don't even think that it like not doing it's an option, and yeah, and then you just got to try to imitate that and do that on like just do that kind of micro stuff all over your life, and then you'll see like gradual improvements. I think it's a trap that I fall into all the time is the idea, and I think sometimes you need to take it some time and reflect back just to realize how far you've come, kind of thing. Because when you're sometimes you can forget, you're like, oh man, I haven't made any progress. I haven't done, and then you think back and you're like, oh, I've read like 14 books this year or something. I haven't actually read 14 books this year. I think I'm on like four. Um, though one of them was Bare Metal, and that's like 1,400 pages. So I'm counting that as like two. Uh, but I've read some books. I learned a lot of things. I did a lot of writing. Like when I've been going back through like some of the stuff I've written down, like it's just like holy crap, I forgot I wrote all this stuff. Uh, and then you can kind of see how your opinions have changed over time and stuff like that. And um, you know, it kind of allows you to take the steps of, yeah, there's other things I need to fix in my life, and they're not going to be fixed overnight. But I realize from the other aspects of my life where I've been just, you take this slow and steady approach, it's been working. So let's just keep doing that. And so that has been very effective. Um, so okay, so I'm gonna jump back to kind of my current situation. So where I'm I'm in a state where I've kind of taken a ticket to a certain extent, right? So it's not, some of the crazy stuff that you hear about like the elites, but um, it's what I'll call like the ticket of least resistance, right? It's what you would naturally kind of fall into, and that's kind of how the ticket, that's how it works, right? You know, it's uh it's what the allure comes from, the vices that come naturally to you. So, a lot of people in my generation probably face a very similar thing. I'm a millennial, by the way. Um, where, you know, you have this idea that like, so you've had a couple bad relationships, or like it doesn't go anywhere. You've been friend zoned like a million times, and you start thinking to yourself, you know what the fuck is even the point, right? Like I remember thinking to myself, uh, probably 4 or 5 years back. Uh, I kind of like before I even knew what like the MGTOW thing and the men going their own way bullshit was. Uh, I kind of came to that conclusion because I was like, low status guy, not very successful kind of thing, and like to me, my ticket out of there was getting an engineering degree and being able to provide kind of thing. And whew, I that plan backfired. It's not that it backfired. I mean, I have a master's degree in mechanical engineering and stuff like that, but like, this degree that was supposed to have great job security has fucking put me on my ass so many times, and it's really frustrating. I I'm guessing part of that is to teach me a bunch of humility about stuff, or maybe I'm supposed to go do something else. That's something I haven't figured out yet. But so you get the like, you have a couple bad relationships. They might not even be real relationships, kind of thing. And you get that thought in your head, that the evil seed of like, how many times are you gonna touch the hot pan before you learn that when you touch it, you get burnt, right? And it was like basically those specific words that I thought, and I was like, that's powerful, right? Because it's like when you don't um when you've been blinded by like lust and stuff like that, it's really easy to think about that because, like I had mentioned earlier, vice is stronger than virtue, in its pull to a certain extent, because like, okay, what's the point of dealing with all of the bullshit of like women and the courts and all that stuff? It's like it's to have kids, and that's very important. But if you've never had kids, it's there's there's other options that definitely are appealing, like devil's whispers that sound pretty damn good. Um, right. Um, so here's the life for the MGTOW guy, right? So you don't have to deal with any women. You get some job that you makes it so you can kind of survive, and you don't have to worry about um, money type stuff. You don't have kids, so you don't have any responsibilities, so you don't have to worry about that. Um, so it doesn't even really matter what job you have. You could probably work like part time and potentially have enough to like feed your various addictions, kind of thing. You're playing video games all day, and you're replacing women with porn. Okay, like that. If you've lived that life, you know it's freaking miserable. But like from the outside, especially with like how bad, like certain aspects of it that they look at, like doesn't sound bad. It's it. The evil has to be appealing, or no one would do it, right? And like that's a sad life to a certain extent, but it's an easy life. It's a lazy river of escapism life. You don't have to think about much. You don't have responsibilities. You don't like so that's and but like you, you lose everything if that's the path you choose, right? It's like, okay, you can do all that stuff and blah blah blah, but like the amount that you lose isn't just like, having like you're you end a lineage, right? Uh you you don't show up for the future. There's no next generation kind of thing. And if you think restoring Western civilization and stuff like that is important, um, then it's like that life isn't an option. Like you can't do that and believe that. I mean, technically you can, but it's those two worldviews are incompatible, right? You're gonna be living a lie. And you don't know like raising kids and stuff like that sounds like a big uh, responsibility. It definitely is. Don't get me wrong. and I don't have kids, so I guess this is speaking from the outside. But um, that's why it's like, and that's why I avoid things like Big Bear Stream and stuff like that, because it reminds me of like what actually I need to be striving for, and so it doesn't allow me to fall into this pattern of behavior, and so that's why it's like the first thing that goes, right? It's like, oh well, can't watch that because it reminds me of like what I should actually be doing and keeping the eye on the prize kind of thing, and yeah, that's at least for me why is really an important person in the modern world or postmodern. I'm actually kind of curious what the next era is going to be called. Um, postmodern doesn't sound good. Um, yeah, and yeah, uh, I guess okay. So an example of what I just described in like game or I guess this is a show. So I don't know if you guys have watched The Witcher, um, but in The Witcher, there's this character named Jennifer, and she's like a hunchback and ugly and stuff like that, and she wants to become beautiful, and so she gives up her ability to have kids to become beautiful. And like that line is exactly what like the MGTOW kind of thing is, right? So she gives up her ability to have kids so that someone can love her. But like the whole point was so that she like the having someone to care about you and love you and stuff like that is important. But like the end goal of all of that and wanting to be pretty and attract someone is so that you can have kids. But by giving up her ability to have kids, like it kind of destroyed the whole thing. And you can see that she kind of regrets her decision in the story. I haven't watched all of it, but like if it only takes like 2 episodes to get, or maybe 3, I don't know. But pretty early on, like she goes like out of her way to save like some child that was like supposed to be assassinated, kind of thing. And it's like you you don't care, like that's obviously like her regretting not having chosen the path of like potentially being a mother, kind of thing. Um, and it's kind of interesting, and it's, you know, something that we got to think about moving forward. Okay, I think I covered most of that stuff. I said I was going to jump back to this God's country thing, and I'm thinking I'm not going to do that. I'll leave. Okay, so what I'll do is okay, I will go over it, but I'm not going to play the song because I have a feeling that the video is going to get pulled if that happens. Um, because of copyright stuff, which is fair. So I'm going to go through the lyrics, and you guys can listen to the song on your own. Uh, so what the hell? We're gonna listen to the song. Um, but okay, so the lyrics are kind of interesting because the lyrics are literally just a canvas, um, for you to project your own thoughts into. Um, it's kind of a weird spot to wrap this on, but let's jump forward here. Okay, so we're just gonna listen to this. So we're gonna listen to like the first minute or so.
Right outside of this one church town, there's a gold dirt road to a whole lot of nothing. Got a deed to the land, but it ain't my ground. This is God's country. We pray for rain and thank Him when it's falling, 'cause it brings a grain and a little bit of money. We put it back in the plate, I guess that's why they call it God's country. I saw the light in a sunrise, sitting back in a 40 on the muddy riverside, getting baptized in holy water and shine with the dogs running. Saved by the sound of a pin found Dixie whistle in the wind that'll get you heaven bound. The devil went down to Georgia, but he didn't stick around. This is God's country.
Okay, so you can listen to the rest of the song on your own. Great song in my opinion. But here's the thing, like that. Think about that refrain. That refrain doesn't say anything. Okay, so you're watching the sunshine on the back 40. Like the only thing it's supposed to do is like invoke like vague memories about like things you've done that are vaguely in this line, right? And uh and then like there's a so okay, so you're watching the sunrise on the back 40, right? Like back 40 acres type thing. Um then it's uh you're you're running through the water with your dogs kind of thing. Uh you holy water and shine. So basically um you're uh, you're a godly person and but you like to have fun on the weekends kind of thing. And then uh to kind of drive home like the godly thing of the devil went down to Georgia but he didn't stick around, right? You know, the devil was only here temporarily. Uh and like there's it doesn't really say anything, but because of the amount of stuff that you can project into the gaps left, which is the whole point, right? It's um it's almost like a canvas where they did like some outlines of some basic things. Like they didn't make a full thing, but like they would maybe do like the top of a tree and like a little like maybe the bank of a river and like just like little details here and there. Like in some like coloring books where uh you'll have uh certain things drawn, but like they won't be the full thing. Like it'll be part of a plant, and then you're supposed to go draw the other half of the plant. So it gives you the idea of what's supposed to be there, but then you with your own imagination fill in the rest of the canvas, and then like it, and that's what makes it really effectively rhetorical. Is it is whatever you project onto it, which is kind of interesting, and that's one of the ways that they can use rhetoric as a weapon. Is um, they do things that are certain vagaries, and then you can project whatever uh, good thing is on there. Fascism is a good example of this, where and fascism and capitalism don't really seem to have term like definitions anymore. And even communism to a certain extent is just like uh, people project what they want it to be onto it, and then they use that definition. So like, there's no actual definition anymore. No one actually works from a understood position. Um, so yeah, so we started with some music. We wrapped with some music. Um, I thought this was a good one. Uh, I forgot forgot to record the first 8 minutes, so I don't know if um, D Live recorded that, and I kind of recapped it a little bit, but I might not have recapped it how I wanted to, so I might splice this together uh, if it recorded it, but we will see. Um, anyway, thank you guys for listening. Um, please like, comment, subscribe, share this around with anyone that you might find benefits from it. If you do find it, I will be getting to the uh, um, labor back currency at some point. It's probably not Monday now, unless some other idea spikes into my head. But we will get to it. I promise. Um, and yeah, thank you for listening. This has been According to Andrew, and I am Andrew. Have a good day.